we're in Deuteronomy chapter 23 and chapter 24. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. This is coming from the Good News Bible today. Chapter 23. No man who's been castrated or whose penis has been cut off may be included among the Lord's people. No one born out of wedlock or any descendant of such a person, even in the 10th generation, may be included among the Lord's people. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants, even in the 10th generation, may be included among the Lord's people. They refused to provide you with food and water when you were on your way out of Egypt. They hired Balaam, son of Beor, from the city of Pethor in Mesopotamia to curse you. But the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam. Instead, he turned the curse into a blessing because he loved you. As long as you are a nation, never do anything to help these nations or to make them prosperous. Do not despise the Edomites. They are your relatives. And do not despise the Egyptians. You once lived in their land. From the 3rd generation onward, their descendants may be included among the Lord's people. When you are in camp in time of war, you are to avoid anything that would make you ritually unclean. If a man becomes unclean because he has had a wet dream during the night, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. Toward evening, he is to wash himself, and at sunset, he may come back into camp. You are to have a place outside the camp where you can go when you need to relieve yourselves. Carry a stick as part of your equipment so that when you have a bowel movement, you can dig a hole and cover it up. Keep your camp ritually clean, because the Lord your God is with you in your camp to protect you and to give you victory over your enemies. Do not do anything indecent that would cause the Lord to turn his back on you. If slaves run away from their owners and come to you for protection, do not send them back. They may live in any of your towns that they choose, and you are not to treat them harshly. No Israelite man or woman is to become a temple prostitute. Also, no money earned in this way may be brought into the house of the Lord your God in fulfillment of a vow. The Lord hates temple prostitutes. When you lend money or food or anything else to Israelites, do not charge them interest. You may charge interest on what you lend to foreigners, but not on what you lend to Israelites. Obey this rule, and the Lord your God will bless everything you do in the land that you're going to occupy. When you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not put off doing what you promise. The Lord will hold you to your vow, and it is a sin not to keep it. It is no sin not to make a vow to the Lord. But if you make one voluntarily, be sure that you keep it. When you walk along a path in someone else's vineyard, you may eat all the grapes you want, but you must not carry any away in a container. When you walk along a path in someone else's grain field, you may eat all the grain you can pull off with your hands, but you must not cut any grain with a sickle. Suppose a man marries a woman and later decides that he doesn't want her because he finds something about her that he doesn't like. So he writes out divorce papers, gives them to her, and sends her away from his home. Then suppose she marries another man, and he also decides that he doesn't want her. So he also writes out divorce papers, gives them to her, sends her away from his home. Or suppose her husband dies. In either case, her first husband is not to marry her again. He is to consider her defiled. If he married her again, it would be offensive to the Lord. You are not to commit such a terrible sin in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. When a man is newly married, he is not to be drafted into military service or any other public duty. He is to be excused from duty for 1 year so that he can stay at home and make his wife happy. When you lend someone something, you are not to take as security his millstones used for grinding his grain. This will take away the family's means of preparing food to stay alive. If any of you kidnap Israelites and make them your slaves or sell them into slavery, you are to be put to death. In this way, your nation will get rid of this evil. When you are suffering from a dreaded skin disease, be sure to do exactly what the Levitical priests tell you. Follow the instructions that I have given them. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam as you were coming from Egypt. When you lend someone something, do not go into his house to get the garment he is going to give you as security. Wait outside and let him bring it to you himself. If he is poor, do not keep it overnight. Return it to him each evening so that he can have it to sleep in. Then he will be grateful, and the Lord will be pleased with you. Do not cheat poor and needy hired servants, whether they are Israelites or foreigners, living in one of your towns. Each day before sunset, pay them for that day's work. They need the money and have counted on getting it. If you do not pay them, they will cry out against you to the Lord, and you will be guilty of sin. Parents are not to be put to death for crimes committed by their children, and children are not to be put to death for crimes committed by their parents. People are to be put to death only for a crime they themselves have committed. Do not deprive foreigners and orphans of their rights, and do not take a widow's garment as security for a loan. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God set you free. That is why I have given you this command. When you gather your crops and fail to bring in some of the grain that you have cut, do not go back for it. It is to be left for the foreigners, orphans, and widows, so that the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. When you have picked your olives once, do not go back and get those that are left. They are for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. When you have gathered your grapes once, do not go back over the vines a second time. The grapes that are left are for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. Never forget that you were slaves in Egypt. That is why I have given you this command. So that's chapters 23 and 24. And that last part is, again, just showing that we're supposed to be generous. What we're going to find a few books over in the book of Ruth is that it is exactly what she was doing, is to be able to survive. She was following along the workers in the field, picking up food so that they wouldn't starve. It was a common practice there. It was a kindness shown to those that couldn't do it, but it wasn't given to them. They still had to work for it. Things aren't free, and so remember that the things that we receive, the things that we want, we work for, and we use our time wisely to be able to get that. So hope you have a great day. Bye.